Hi guys, it's Claire. Welcome back. Today I am here to bring you my 2020 reading year in review, in which I will be looking back at all of the books that I read this year and handing out high school yearbook style reading superlatives to each and every one of them. I did this in 2017 and 2018 and then skipped it in 2019 because I had a garbage reading year, but 2020 has been much better in that regard, and so I am feeling inspired once again to revisit all of the books that I read this year. If you want to hear about my favorite books of 2020, I will link that video down below, but otherwise, let's dive right in. Let's start off with the biggest page turner of 2020, which is also my favorite book of the year, and that is White Ivy by Susie Yang. The most surprising book I read this year in the best possible way was Sansei and Sensibility by Karente Yamashita. Best New Discovery goes to Lot by Brian Washington. Best Translation goes to The Odyssey by Homer as translated by Emily Wilson. Best Opening Chapter goes to Luster by Raven Leilani. Best Discussion Book goes to How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. Biggest Book Club Catnip goes to The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Best Banter goes to Exciting Times by Nisha Dolan. Richest Imagery goes to Sula by Toni Morrison. And Best Consideration of Language goes to Whereas by Layli Long Soldier. Most Interdisciplinary goes to Citizen by Claudia Rankin. Most Whimsical goes to Little Weirds by Jenny Slate. Most Haunting goes to Savage Conversations by Leanne Howe. The most academic book that I read in 2020 was Reading the Romance, Women, Patriarchy, and Popular Literature by Janice A. Radway. And the best close reading was found in Nothing Ever Dies, Vietnam and the Memory of War by Viet Thanh Nguyen. Best structure goes to The Warmth of Other Suns, The Epic Story of America's Great Migration by Isabel Wilkerson. And worst structure goes to The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee, Native America from 1890 to the Present by David Truer. The most surprisingly interesting book about housing in America goes to Golden Gates, Fighting for Housing in America by Connor Doherty. And the most emotionally devastating book about housing in America goes to A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. Best packaging goes to Cy Twombly's 50 Days at Ilium, a wonderful coffee table book. The best graphic novel, and as usual, the only graphic novel I read this year, goes to Displacement by Kiku Hughes. Biggest early aughts nostalgia trip goes to All American Girl by Meg Cabot. And best early aughts gossip goes to Open Book by Jessica Simpson. Biggest laugh goes to Wow No Thank You by Samantha Irby. Biggest cry goes to Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders. Most Freudian goes to The Lying Life of Adults by Elena Ferrante. Most footnotes found in a work of fiction goes to Kim Ji-young, born 1982 by Cho Nam-ju. The most frigid masculinity goes to Kikuji from Thousand Cranes by Yasunari Kawabata. Best fan fiction goes to The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Worst fan fiction goes to Rodham by Curtis Sittenfeld, which coincidentally also wins the award for Most Horrifying Literary Sex Scenes of 2020. Best quiet pining goes to Intimate Apparel by Lynn Nottage. The least swoon-worthy love stories of 2020 were A Lover's Discourse by Xiaolu Guo and Memorial by Brian Washington. And in that vein, here are the superlatives for all of the romance novels I read in 2020. The best romance of 2020 was The X-Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. The horniest romance was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. The most angsty romance was Beach Read by Emily Henry. The most Bridget Jonesy was Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. The most plot-heavy romance was An Extraordinary Union by Alyssa Cole. The romance that most solidified my aversion to historical romance was Romancing Mr. Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. The romance novel most in need of an editor was all 600 pages of The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. And the worst romance of 2020 was One to Watch by Kate Stayman London, which was a wonderful spoof of The Bachelorette with a horrible central relationship. Moving on from romances into a more negative energy field, the most gimmicky book I read in 2020 was You Never Forget Your First by Alexis Coe, a biography of George Washington in listicles. The most marketing speak was found in Big Friendship, How We Keep Each Other Close by Amina Tussaud and Anne Friedman. Biggest cash grab, I'm sorry to say, was Let Me Tell You What I Mean by Joan Didion. Her publisher is truly wringing that archive for all it's worth. Most most forgettable goes to Memorial and Excavation of the Iliad by Alice Oswald and Tokyo Ueno Station by Yu Miri. The book with the most promising start and the most disappointing conclusion was Interior Chinatown by Charles Yu. The biggest overall disappointment of 2020 was Real Life by Brandon Taylor, and the worst book I read in 2020 by a long shot was Topics of Conversation by Miranda Popke. And then, as a final note, the books that I DNF'd in 2020 were Life After Life by Kate Atkinson, Moby Dick by Herman Melville, Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed, In the Woods by Tana French, Indigo by Beverly Jenkins, Pale Rider by Laura Spinney, and 40 Love by Olivia Dade. Those are all of the books that I read in 2020. I hope you guys had a great reading year and that your 2021 reading is already off to a wonderful start. Wishing you all good health, good books, and timely vaccine injections in 2021. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!